Let's go straight to Washington for the latest on the big developing story tonight, the release of millions more Epstein files. Our US correspondent James Matthews is looking through the documents for us. And James, what have you uncovered so far?
Yeah, hi Gillian. Quite a bit to go through. More than 3 million pages, 2,000 plus videos. And in terms of the number of images, more than 180,000. This was publication day by the Department of Justice. Belatedly, of course. They all should have been out 6 weeks ago by law. But there's a lot in there. We have lifted some of the detail, and there are some familiar faces in there. Prince Andrew, or the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, gets a mention. So does Lord Peter Mandelson. Let me read you, Gillian, a few email exchanges. First of all, between Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. Interesting for a number of reasons, one of which is the ease of access that Jeffrey Epstein appeared to have to Buckingham Palace. Let's go through just some of the emails. On the 11th of August in 2010, Epstein sent an email to former Prince Andrew, and he said this: "I have a friend who I think you might enjoy having dinner with. She'll be in London 20 to 24. And Andrew replied, "Of course, I'm in Geneva until morning of 22nd, but would be delighted to see her. Will she be bringing a message from you? Please give her my contact details to get in touch." He also wrote, "Great, any other information you might know about her that might be useful to know? Like, what have you told her about me? And have you given her my email as well?" Epstein replied, "She's 26, Russian, clever, beautiful, trustworthy, and yes, she has your email." Andrew replied, "That was quick. How are you? Good to be free?" And Epstein says, "Great to be free of many things." Now, Gillian, let me read you an email, and this is from Sarah Ferguson. Clearly, Epstein was a friend of the family. Sarah Ferguson, Andrew's ex-wife, of course. She wrote a letter, said this: "Thank you so much, Jeffrey. I had the best discussion with Target on Friday, and they want desperately the whole Mother's Army project. They also want to get behind my entire Sarah Ferguson brand, books, etc. Tommy Hilfiger wants to build my entire apparel, fragrance, etc. brand and sell it on QVC. NBC want my Mother's Army TV show. Ben Silverman wants it. So too does Ryan Seacrest. In just 1 week after your lunch, it seems the energy has lifted. I have never been more touched," she says, "by a friend's kindness than your compliment to me in front of my girls." And she finishes, "Thank you, Jeffrey, for being the brother I have always wished for." Lord Mandelson, remember their association. Nothing new in the fact that they had a friendship. Mandelson, a visitor to his island, of course, and also a contributor to that notorious Jeffrey Epstein birthday book. Well, there are more email discussions taking place between Mandelson and Epstein. Let me read you one or two. Jeffrey Epstein wrote to his accountant, "Send 2,000 per month to Ronaldo." Now, Ronaldo, it was the then partner of Lord Mandelson, now husband. The reply from the accountant to Epstein says this: "Is this in addition to the 13K you wrote in previous email? Please confirm currency we are sending is US dollars. Will this occur on the 1st of every month? If so, should I start with April now or May? Please advise." Epstein responded saying, "No, after rethinking, send $4,000 only." So that's discussion between Epstein and his accountant, and that essentially was Epstein channeling money to the then partner of Lord Mandelson at a time when Lord Mandelson was business secretary of Her Majesty's government. One thing on Epstein I would mention, Gillian, there is a psychological report, more than 80 pages, all of them completely redacted. There is a scrap of information, and it is this, relates to a month before he died in jail, was deemed to have taken his own life. And it says, "No significant mental health issues. Threat to self, low." And And that was in July 2019. He took his own life a month later in August 2019. So that just gives you a flavour of some of what we're seeing in this latest tranche of files.
James, there are references to President Trump in these documents, aren't there?
There are, and it's early, Gillian, and yes, there are references. How concrete they are is debatable at this stage, so I won't go into any too much detail. But yeah, he's mentioned, there is the mention of an FBI tip-off line, and his name is it's mentioned in conjunction with that. I'll say no more at this stage. I will say, or I will give you the White House response to that subject matter. They say this production may include fake or falsely submitted images, documents or videos, as everything that was sent to the FBI by the public was included in the production that is responsive to the Act. Some of the documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false, and if they have a shred of credibility, they certainly would have been weaponized against President Trump already. So basically, somebody's phoned up this FBI tip line, said something about Donald Trump. They're saying, be very careful, because there was a lot of false and sensationalist stuff that was put onto this tip line.
And James, what does the release of all of these documents actually mean? What are the implications?
That will depend, frankly, Gillian, on the subject matter, and it's going to take days for all of us to wade through it. I suppose chief among the questions is who's in Jeffrey Epstein's orbit? What was their association? Is there any suggestion that they are associated with criminal wrongdoing actively or just by enabling him, perhaps through their silence? And that will be a question for many people. It will be a question for the President, Donald Trump, a former good friend of Jeffrey Epstein. Remember, they fell out in the LA noughties. But it will be a question, what was their association? Did he know about Jeffrey Epstein's criminal impropriety, and to what extent might he have been engaged in it? Why didn't he do anything about it? These are questions. I would emphasise that Donald Trump, the president, emphatically denies any knowledge of Epstein's criminal wrongdoing or any involvement in it.
James, thank you very much for the moment. Well, let's bring in Susie and Madeline now for their thoughts. 3 million pages of the Epstein files released today. Your thoughts?
Absolutely classic media move to do it on a Friday afternoon. And also another classic move. At the same time, Donald Trump went on his Truth Social and declared some other random stuff about Barack Obama, which everyone had long forgotten about, to do with the alleged Russia hoax. He said now he wants Barack Obama arrested for something else entirely. But it doesn't matter how many dead cats he's going to start throwing out. I think this stuff is still going to take precedence no matter what. I think even Barack Obama is going to go, yeah, Donald, whatever, and just be reading the stuff they can find online. So this is just going to, like James was saying, over the next few days, as journalists start going through this and they start finding deeper and deeper stuff in there, it's just going to snowball.
Madeline, what is the significance? I mean, would you describe this as a bombshell?
Well, it's kind of too early to say, but just from what we've been able to see, even in the last couple of hours since it landed, potentially very explosive and involving many different, highly significant, influential people around the world. I imagine there'll be a lot of very powerful people will be squirming tonight and wonder what else may be found, but it will obviously take some time to go through it. Here in Britain, we're a little bit behind the news cycle because we will have gone to press with only a couple of hours because we're dealing with America time, so that makes it even more difficult. But I think that, just from what we heard, what I find almost more alarming than the content is simply the tone of some of these emails, an atmosphere of normalised secrecy, coziness, and you can kind of tell from the tone of the emails between Andrew, Mountbatten-Windsor and Epstein that this feels like quite a normal thing, a kind of routine occurrence, like this has happened before. So I just kind of, I expect that we are really just scratching the surface at this point.
Just to say that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is quoted as saying, I vigorously deny the accusations against me, and just because people are named in these communications in these emails, it doesn't imply guilt or any wrongdoing.
But what you can see, aside from any allegations made against Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, that phrase when he said to Jeffrey Epstein, "Is it good to be free?" That's enough. You don't need to have any allegations, proved or otherwise, against the former Prince Andrew to know that means he knows he's talking to a convicted criminal. He knows he was convicted for soliciting a minor for prostitution. He knew he was being investigated, which was something that would have covered dozens and dozens of girls, probably. And now he knows he's free and he's continuing this relationship. I mean, just morally, that's abhorrent and that's enough.
OK, Susie and Madeline, for the moment, thank you.